All right, let's unpack this mountain research you've sent over about liquidation pallets.
You're clearly intrigued by the potential of turning a profit from these mystery boxes of merchandise, and honestly, who isn't?
It's like a bargain bin treasure hunt on a massive scale.
It seems like you've been digging deep into this, looking at everything from articles about the business side to FAQs from specific companies, even testimonials from those who've taken the plunge.
Exactly. And all those sources point to this shared curiosity about liquidation pallets.
Before we go any further, though, let's define what we're talking about.
Most of your research defines them as large, lots of surplus merchandise like returns, overstock, and shelf pulls, sold at a steep discount as is.
Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I see as is, I immediately start picturing a pallet full of dented toasters and mismatched socks.
But then again, that's where the thrill of the hunt comes in, right?
It's that element of surprise that really draws people in.
One of your articles even compared it to the psychology behind those storage locker auctions, that rush of potentially uncovering a hidden gem at a bargain price.
But as you pointed out in your notes, you're not just here for the thrill. You're seriously considering this as a potential business opportunity.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Because your research isn't just about daydreaming about striking gold.
You've highlighted some key questions about the business side of things, like how to evaluate a pallet's potential and how to avoid getting scammed.
One thing that really stood out in your research was the emphasis on sustainability.
A lot of these articles mention how buying liquidation pallets can be a win-win. You get great deals, and you're giving perfectly good items a second life instead of contributing to landfills.
Absolutely. It's like thrifting on steroids.
And it speaks to a growing desire for conscious consumerism.
Now, while the environmental aspect is definitely a plus, you're right. We need to address the elephant in the room. Can you realistically make money from this?
One of your sources, an FAQ from the bin store, claimed you can make 2 to 4 times your investment with liquidation pallets.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Now that sounds tempting, but I have a feeling it's not as simple as snapping up pallets and watching the profits roll in.
You're absolutely right. The sources that mention those profit margins were quick to point out that it takes a good deal of savvy and strategy to actually turn those pallets into cash. It's about understanding what sells, pricing it competitively, and finding the right buyers, whether that's online or through more traditional channels.
Right, because just because something's a bargain doesn't mean people actually want it.
Exactly.
And that's where having a system for evaluating the potential of a pallet comes in, I guess.
You got it.
You flagged a couple of articles that recommended researching product values and tracking market trends before committing to a purchase.
Yeah, and one even suggested utilizing online tools to check the going rate of similar items.
Exactly. It's like any business knowledge is power.
Couldn't agree more.
And speaking of trustworthy sources, one name kept popping up in your research, the bin store.
They seem to have earned a reputation for transparency with detailed manifests, upfront pricing, and a focus on what they call quality pallets.
Yeah, I noticed that too, which is interesting because usually these companies are pretty tight-lipped about what's actually on the pallets.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting. They also offer coaching to help buyers resell their merchandise. I haven't seen that anywhere else in my research.
What do you make of that?
It's certainly a unique selling proposition. Most liquidation companies are content with simply selling the pallets and leaving the rest up to the buyer. The bin store, however, seems to recognize that their success is tied to their customers' success. By providing guidance and support, they're essentially investing in their buyers, which could potentially lead to more sustainable profits for everyone involved.
Plus, that coaching aspect could be especially valuable for someone just starting out in the liquidation world.
Definitely.
It's one thing to research trends online, but having access to experienced guidance could make all the difference in navigating this market.
Totally.
And that brings us to another key theme in your research, avoiding scams.
Oh, yeah.
There are definitely some shady operators out there hoping to take advantage of unsuspecting buyers. You highlighted an article that listed some major red flags, like sellers demanding payment and gift cards, refusing to provide contact information, or pressuring buyers into rush deals. That gift card one is a dead giveaway.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of that time I almost bought a designer handbag from a street vendor.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, my gut said, walk away,
Good.
and I dodged a bullet. But in all seriousness, those red flags you found are crucial for anyone even thinking about buying liquidation pallets.
For sure.
It's about trusting your instincts and doing your due diligence. The more informed you are, the better equipped you'll be to spot those red flags and avoid costly mistakes.
Absolutely.
It's better to be safe than sorry, especially when you're dealing with as-is merchandise.
Hmm.
And that actually circles back to the bin store's approach. They might be regionally limited, but their focus on transparency and education could offer a valuable model for the industry as a whole.
I see what you mean.
Imagine if more companies adopted that mindset.
Yeah.
It could empower more people to explore the world of liquidation with greater confidence.
Absolutely. It's about shifting the dynamic from a buyer beware mentality to a more collaborative, supportive one. Because ultimately, the success of this business relies on both sides having the knowledge and resources to make informed decisions. And you've covered a lot of ground with this research, the thrill of the hunt, the potential pitfalls, and the importance of informed decision-making. You've even started to uncover some of the factors that could contribute to a successful liquidation pallet business, like market research, niche specialization, and finding trustworthy sources.
And don't forget the sustainability aspect.
Oh, right.
We touched on it earlier, but it's worth reiterating this isn't just about profit, it's about giving products a second life. It's about finding value where others might see only excess. And that's where it all comes together, isn't it? The potential to build a business that's both profitable and environmentally conscious. It's a pretty compelling combination.
It really is.
It seems like you've got all the ingredients for a fascinating journey ahead.
You've definitely sparked my curiosity. Maybe next time we can dive into a specific product category within liquidation. You mentioned vintage video games in your notes, or perhaps designer handbags. Who knows what treasures we might unearth?
Until then, keep exploring, stay informed, and as always, happy hunting.